Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 100 games of all time. This is the 2023 edition. Hoo boy! All right. Well, if you're jumping in for the first time every year for the past, oh my God, 7 years?
7 or 8, yeah.
Dear God. Brad and I go over our top 100 games of all time, and as every year, every time we start, different. Like it's like we're like, okay, number 100 would be higher because I just played it or something like that. But
Yep.
yeah, this is something fun we like to do because it gives us a chance to talk about games that we don't normally get to talk about. Um, did you do anything different this year?
I did the same as usual. I
Okay.
used Pub Meeple, and then I did some switching around. Also, I played some games like late after I'd made the list that
hmm
jumped in, so I had to boot some out to make room.
Yeah, you have that luxury. You're like, hey, daughter, can you make this change? And I'm sitting here like, dang it.
Yeah,
Uh, this year's a little bit later though because of that very reason. There were a bunch of games that I wanted to get played before making any adjustments. So, uh, I'd say this is probably pretty accurate. Yeah, I didn't do anything different either. PubMeeple is probably the best source to actually do any type of ranking. That's how I do my top tens and all that. Uh, what I did do, and this was new last year, is at least to my knowledge, I do not include games I actually don't own. Um, which I know like you don't do that.
no,
Most people probably wouldn't just because if they don't own it, that's because five other people in their gaming group own it or something like that. My personal perspective, if I'm talking about my favorite or my top 100, is I feel like I should own it to consider it. And games that were on the list recently have been removed for that very reason. And we'll get there. We'll get there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh annual Top 100 with an honorable mention. Um, which I'm so sad that my honorable mention is actually not the my number 102. I wish was at least an honorable mention, but it's not, and we'll get there if you even recognize that this game isn't on the list. But my honorable mention is boom.
oh yeah,
Maximum Apocalypse, and I also have data for where it was last year too,
me too.
or the past 2 years. So last year it was actually number 129, so this game went up 28 spots, and in 2021 it was number 99. So it's kind of hovered weirdly for the past couple of years, like in the high 100s or late 90s. This one it technically didn't make the list, but this game is really good. It is a roguelike style game. You set up the map differently. You're going to get different items, then you play a different character, trying to complete an objective. If you're wanting a game that is fully cooperative, that has any type of apocalyptic scenario imaginable, this is one that I would highly recommend. It, like the map that you're seeing here, is created by the players during setup as everyone's dealt these tiles and you just place them face down and you're like, okay, this is the map we're working with. And I know some games try to do a roguelike element, and this one I think does it the best, at least in terms of map setup. And yeah, it's really good. Like I do enjoy this, and it does have an expansion, the newest expansion in 2023, Wasted Wilds, I think, which we were highly anticipating. I
Yes.
remember I've barely touched it. Like it's an expansion that doesn't fit in the main box, which I find very frustrating whenever this is a legendary box. But I what I have played of it, I do enjoy. So this is a very solid co-op. Love the apocalypse scenario. And yeah, that's my honorable mention.
All right, my honorable mention, as I was trying to bring up BGG so I could have stuff. It's down right now, so that's awesome. Um, so my number
Oh,
number
BGG
one,
is.
yeah, is a game that was 144 last year. It's bumped up. Um, I want to get the new big box version because I think I like the art of the big box version a little bit better, maybe. Um, and this one is
Oh yeah.
Village.
This is a good one. I also want to get the big box for this.
Yeah, the art is different. This is more of a realistic. That one's more colorful, like the um, all that jazz with the bright colors and stuff. This is the old art, obviously. So, in this game, it's your worker placement game. It's one of those that um, I think the coolest part of this game that it does differently from other stuff is how like when your family dies, you put them into the graveyard and do
Right.
all that and do all that stuff. Um, and it's just a lot of neat stuff. Like your family history comes into this, and I haven't played. I've heard that the what's expansion? Maybe the port one is the one that's almost a must to play with it. Or
Yeah, there
there's
was
one
an
of them.
expansion that was kind of required. It was either
Yeah,
that one or the brewery.
yeah. I can't remember which one exactly, but I don't have that one. Obviously, I just have the base game right now. But I like worker placement games, and this one does enough different with it. Like with your lineage and your family history and all that stuff, being able to bury them, to do different things, which is kind of morbid. But this is just one of those games that kind of comes and go. It'll bounce around on this list a lot, just depending on if it's played. Because this game gets forgotten quite a
Hmm.
bit, and until you actually have played it.
Yeah.
And then once you play it, then you're like, damn, that's a pretty good game. I remember that. And that's kind of what happened this time. I didn't play it very
Hmm.
much last year. Played it a couple times this year. It bounced up. And so, yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
just barely missed the top 100. And well, if I play it more this year, it could very easily jump into that top 100.
I could see this actually going pretty high for you if you get those expansions.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's
I
the plan.
think you just got to go retail because Miniature Market doesn't keep games in stock anymore. Um, so, well, good choice. My number 100 was actually 141 last year, so it also shot up. Oh yeah, I guess we should talk about this section of 10 that we normally do. One, two, three, four,
Oh, man.
five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. Yep. So I have four that rose, four that fell, no, five that fell, and one new one.
I have five new to the list.
Whew.
I had one, two fell, two rose, and one stayed the same.
Okay. All right.
So,
Five new ones. I guess that would make sense that they should be at the back end of the top 100.
yeah.
Um, But yeah, so my number 100, which was 141 last year and 61 in 2021, I imagine this one would go. I think it went up because I actually played a small demo of this at Gen Con, and I have the expansion for it, but for some reason I just haven't touched it. This was a game that I showed you, and one that definitely flies under the radar, and that is
Oh, yeah.
Overlords of Infamy. Um, and this game would just kind of like yeah, I imagine most people would kind of look at this and then be like, what is this game? Uh, but I find, and this could just be a soft spot as being the very first game I ever got as a demo copy for my channel. Um, but the game is really good. It's a worker placement game that you play as a supervillain, and it's one of the more comical sides of the supervillain. I always have Megamind in my head whenever I'm kind of like describing the theme, these wacky, over the top, bombastic plans, grand plans. And if you want to go to the next picture, perfect. Um, yeah, everyone has their own zone of influence that they're working with. Basically, you have various actions that you can do to lay out tiles, which will have resources. You want to get those resources to complete nefarious plots, all while either branching out to the kingdom of good that's in the middle. There's a hero, a neutral hero that roams around and disrupts people's plans. or going and connecting to contentious zones, which are those red bordered hexagons. Because then, if both players touch that, then they can start doing acts of espionage against each other. It's really clever. Like the wording and the events is very witty and humorous, which is a huge plus because I feel like a lot of games don't try to be funny. Like like a lot of games want the players to be funny. They're usually party games, and this is not a party game, and that's what brings the element of charm to it. Hell, one of the characters you can be is a sentient corgi. So, need I say more about that? It can be played solo. I think there's a one versus many element where a player can play the kingdom of like the hero. I have not touched any of that. And yeah, the expansion for a small team, they delivered on the expansion through like COVID years, and larger companies for some reason couldn't figure that out. So props to them on that. But so far, I guess last year it jumped out of the top 100, but I remember playing it again at Gen Con. I was like, why? I mean, this game is really good. Like, I don't know why I'm not talking about it more. So that's where it's at this year at number 100.
Yeah, this was a fun one. I remember because it's been years. It was when you still lived over in Clinton when you guys
Yeah,
showed it.
at least 4 years.
Yeah, but it was fun for
Hmm.
sure. All right. So my number 100 starts a string of new games to the list,
Okay.
and
How many of them did I show you?
um,
All of them? You're welcome.
one of them. So
Okay.
this one is at 100 and not very much higher because I'd only played it. This was one of the ones I had to bump something down, and I'm like, I just don't know how much I can bump down.
Hmm.
So I put it here, knowing that next year's list it's going to be significantly higher. I have a feeling. I just want to. I haven't got to dive into it as much as I want to, so it's just
Yeah,
kind
so I'm curious, whenever you do you, because how does your top 100 look? Like, do you keep it on an Excel spreadsheet or like a
of, yeah.
note?
I keep
Okay.
it Excel
So
or
do you do what I do? Because I had the same issue whenever I'd play a new game and I'm like, oh, that was really good. Do you just kind of go from game to game and you're like, do I like it more than this? Do I like it more than this? And once you hit say no, you just kind of slot it in there. Because it
kinda. I
sounded
mean,
like you
it's
just put it in 100 and
well,
just,
it wasn't. I actually put it there at 100 because I really like the game, but I just
hmm,
haven't played it enough to justify putting it at 30 or 35.
got
It's
it.
like, and that's going to be the case with a handful of these.
Okay.
But this one's probably one of my games of the year. If I would have played it sooner and if it would have come out earlier, and that is World Wonders.
Oh,
Um, this one is an awesome, awesome game. It if you like the theme of like Seven Wonders, let's say, or the whole civilization stuff, and if you like polyominoes, and if you like cool looking meeples, then this is one of those games where your board looks really cool by the time. And this is a gamer's game. It's a little deeper than a lot of these. You look at the cover and you see Arcane Wonders, and you kind of think, okay, this is probably a
for
lighter
babies.
fare,
Yeah.
but this one actually has some teeth to it. And you're gaining resources by what you have built out. You can build monuments and wonders. When you do those, though, it's kind of has a push your luck thing to it too, because when you decide you want to build one of the wonders, it costs all your gold. So
Hmm.
you want to try to do as much as you can, and if nobody else picks it up and you have one gold left, then hey, you got a hell of a deal. You got it for one gold, or you can just jump on it and spend 8 gold and take it right off the bat and go with it.
So is
It's
every round like a wonder is available? Like, is there only
it
one
comes
wonder
out.
you
There's
can
there's
grab?
there's a couple, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, it's you have options, and they're not all available.
got it. Okay.
Because there's a handful of them in the game. I mean, there's quite a, and that's another thing about this game is like for what's in it and what it's the component quality and stuff like that. It's a cheap game. I think you can get it like at Miniature Market for like 37, 38 bucks, and
Yeah, well, no, you can't because it's not available, but
it's out of stock now. Okay.
it's always out of stock. But I mean, it's
Um,
$50 on Amazon.
right. So I mean,
So
it's definitely I would still say it would be worth that. I mean, just
yeah,
because
that's probably where I'm picking it up because yeah, I've only heard good things and I love Polyomino in almost any form. So,
just as another
and this
heads
looks
up,
great.
this is a side caveat. Have you ever ordered from Game Nerds?
No.
That's another place just like Miniature Market, and they usually keep stuff in stock pretty well too.
Yeah,
So
I've heard their
try it out at
shipping and
some point.
customer service isn't amazing though. So,
So we'll see.
yeah,
I That's where I got a bunch of my stuff coming from. So we'll take a peek
oh, okay.
because I've only
Uh,
looked once from
right.
them.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I know
yeah,
you talked highly of this one. A lot of people did.
yeah, and this one, like I said, if I would have played it more, this would have been way up higher. But just with the couple of plays I've done, I wanted it to be on the list, but I couldn't justify knocking other things off
Sure.
at that point. But yeah, this is a top notch game. It looks awesome on the table, and grab it if you can find it.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Hopefully this is on my list next year.
Yeah.
Um, So, my number 99. This is the first game that fell quite a ways. It was 38 last year and
Oh yeah.
26 in 2021. It fucking tanked. But that's the brilliance of having this data because you see consistency of games that are, if we say, oh, it rose, that's probably because we played it within a
Mm.
year. And if you're a hobbyist gamer, like if you don't have 3 games that you play, you have enough to do a top 100. Playing a game within a year is actually an achievement, especially if you run a YouTube channel like I do, where I'm constantly trying to play new and new games. It's hard to go back to the older ones. I have no doubt that if I played this, it would shoot up. Maybe not to 38 again, but it definitely wouldn't be sitting at 99. But it's still in the list, and that is
Oh yeah.
Tricarion. This is the collector's edition, which I do have. That's the sexiest edition, and if you don't have it, I am better than you. This has Everick and Dislike leaving. Um, this is a Mind Clash game. Mind Clash is pretty much and I keep saying this is like the top of my Euro style genre that I want to stay at because one, their games are dripping in theme and uh, they're relatively complex without being overly, on the spectrum complex. And I say that as you go to the picture where it's like none of this is legible to anyone.
It's a lot of
What
stuff.
that it is a lot of stuff. I'm not saying this game is simple. It's not for babies like World Wonders, but um,
Which is in stock at Miniature Market, by the way. I just looked
oh,
it
it
up.
is. Oh, okay. I haven't checked. That's funny. Um, anyway, so this is the theme of this game is you are a stage magician. And it kind of uses elements of programming where you have yourself as the magician and assistants, like a specialist assistant that you have, and then just regular stagehands. And it's kind of programming. You have a hand of cards that represent the locations you want to go to. You will place that face down, everyone reveals, and then you'll send those people out to the spots of the board to get equipment that you need, learn new spells. In the expansions, you can go and teach old spells. Go to the back alley to, I don't know, get a hand job. I don't know what you're doing back there. Gotta deal with the stage fright. Um, but what's cool about this is your worker will have like a time element to it. Not a time, but kind of how influential they are. So essentially, your magician will be able to go to better spaces and get better results than a regular stagehand. So how you're trying to seed where you want to go, if you're thinking everyone wants to go to the bank to get a loan because that's one of the spots and there's a lot of money available to get, and it's like, okay, do I try and beat them out? Because I know I'm not first in turn order. So it's like, do I go somewhere else? Um, there's just a lot that kind of goes into this game, but again, it makes sense whenever you're playing it. The most confusing spot, like place or thing of this game is actually performing your spells, or your tricks or whatever they're called. You do need equipment But the cool thing is that equipment doesn't get used up. It's like if you get a rope, you're gonna have the rope for multiple tricks, and you're trying to jockey for when you want to actually um perform throughout the weekday. I think it goes Thursday through Sunday, and there's benefits to go into those. It has a lot of really neat elements. I don't see a lot of people talking about this game, um, but at the same time, I don't really see a lot of people talking about a lot of Mind Clash games in general. It's usually Anachrony or bust. Um, but this one is definitely solid. I still have it in my collection, obviously. So if you think that theme of like the Illusionist or the Prestige is cool and you like heavier Euros, I'd give this one a look. Only the collector's edition. So if I didn't have the collector's edition, this wouldn't be on the list. So that's my 99, Terrarion.
All right. My number 99 is a game that I'm surprised it was this low. It's a new game to the list. When it popped up this way using the Pub Meeple, decided to go ahead and leave it here just because I haven't played it a ton. And it's I guess modular might be the word for it. There's different themes of the game that you can play all at once, and there's more coming out. So you get to choose a deck, you play that deck, blah blah blah, and that is 20 strong.
Nice. I
Um,
am actually surprised this isn't higher
yeah,
on your
and I think
list.
it's just because I haven't really. I've played the three decks a few times, but not
Hmm.
like a ton, and it's just kind of there, like it gives you the taste of the chip theory games in a smaller amount, and
Hmm.
like I've said numerous times, I'm a chip theory fanboy, so we'll probably see a lot of their other games really high on my list down the road. So, but this one, if you play, whether you're playing the original set, the Solar Sentinels, or if you have the Too Many Bones set or the Victorum set, they all play differently. Um, and it's all push your luck, and you're trying to like we've said, I think on one of our other lists, like the 2023 list or something like that, the Victorum one is probably the funnest one.
I like it the best, yeah.
I like the theme of the Too Many Bones one more.
Hmm.
This interesting theme with Solar Sentinels is it's still pretty cool. It's just something different, like that you haven't seen
Yeah.
that from them before. They're going to be going to Game Found with two or three new sets.
I think it's three. It's like the Tanglewoods red, white, and blue
Yes.
Hoorah MAGA set, I think is what they were calling it.
Well, the thing that messes
How
with
much
me,
how much of a fan would you not be if that was the
uh,
case?
I don't know. That's
Every purchase comes with a little red hat.
well, it's like there's two right now.
Oh, it's two? Oh, okay.
There's Tanglewoods, and that one's not one of them. There's another game that's a standalone game that's separate. It's called Roth, but
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I'm surprised because like I could see them doing. Oh, I guess there's three decks of Tanglewoods. There's a
Yeah,
red, white,
okay.
gold. That's where the
Oh,
three
and
was coming
gold. Dang
from.
it. I missed my I missed my joke then.
But I fully expect them to do Burn Cycle, Cloudspire, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Because why wouldn't you? I mean, like you said, Stonemeyer did the one game where he used all of his own IPs and put them into the game. They might as well do that with this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a quicker way of doing stuff. And then in the inverse of that is, are they possibly thinking about making a bigger Solar Sentinel set? Like
Oh, yeah.
what I'm saying? Like if
Hmm.
they decide to flesh this out and make it into a big game, but
Yeah, they could do like a
who knows?
tower defense
Right.
game. That'd be
So
cool.
so
I
anyway,
Here's what I'm hoping.
yeah.
I don't want to see a new IP from them. I want more Burn Cycle content.
Uh-huh.
I would actually love more Cloudspire content, even though I don't own the game. I kind of want to get it for a third
I have
time.
all the stuff, yeah, for it.
Yeah, you have it all.
Yeah.
Um, and and then yeah, more content for this, but and also just keep Elder Scrolls
Oh,
going.
oh yeah. I'm ready for that for
That's
sure.
remained yet to be seen. That game could just suck. Who knows? I don't imagine it will, but it might. You never know.
So
Uh,
anyway, I don't know if this is going to be on your list. I know you like it a lot too, so we'll see when that comes. But yeah, if you're a solo only player, I mean, this is the way to rock and roll with some quick versions of their IPs so far. Let's see
yeah.
how it plays. And it takes up a small area too. It's not, it doesn't take a big
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah. All right. Good choice. Good choice. My number 98 weirdly went up. So my statement of games that get played usually go up and games that don't fall down. That is not the case with this one. So there's definitely outliers in statistics. This was 132 last year. And in 2021 it was 106 for the past 2 years, this game hasn't even been on the top 100. And for some reason, this time it has, and I haven't played it in quite some time. Um, but I, for some reason, cannot see myself getting rid of it. I just weirdly love owning this game, and that is
Yep.
Millennium Blades. I think just the genius of this design. I don't own a lot of level 99 games anymore. It's basically BattleCon and this one because those games alone take a ton of effort to even played. Obviously, I just said I haven't touched this in quite some time. But the fact that this idea of a game can even work and how well it works is done so well. Now they kind of botched their collusion or cohesion, whatever the latest expansion was, to like kind of solidify and do a storage solution. I appreciate that there is a storage solution, but I think it could have just been done and handled way better. Uh, that's similar to their BattleCon kind of situation. But this is a what it says underneath the title, a CCG simulator card game. And I saw a post on Reddit where someone was like, "Hey, is there anything to like scratch the TCG itch without actually being involved in that?" And I never comment, but I could have and been like, Millennium Blades, like 100%, because it replicates the feeling of going to a draft, opening up packs, building a deck, and playing against another player. Not quite to that extent, because the packs you're buying are really just a card, but they do it in a really neat way because you have like, let's say a particular pack is 10 cards. You'll include all 10 of those in the market. So whenever you go to like flip it and purchase it, um, it's like it shows on the back what is possible to be in that pack. So you are like opening, it's like, oh, what I get? And if you're trying to do synergy between what the cards you've already purchased and what you already have, you get that exact same feeling. There are two phases in this game. The first phase is real time. You can do it turn-based, but the real time is very what's the word? It's very lenient that you're not like pressed for time, but you are still aware that there is a timer because you're timed when opening packs and building your deck. And you're also not building like a 30, 20, 40 card deck. You're building like, I don't even remember, 10 cards because you can also get like, you know, unique items. You can get a deck box that give you special abilities. You can go and get rare types of cards. You can trade with players, offer players, sell cards to each other during the real-time event. And then it goes to the tournament in the second phase where you play your cards out and you're trying to get the most kind of ranking points, which then turn into victory points. So whoever has the most ranking points after so many tournaments wins the game. It's it's a theme that probably will never be done again. Um, it's completely niche and I love it. I think it's fantastic. I really want to play this game, but also at the same time, it's hard to find someone who wants to play this game. Like you kind of have to pick someone who is already in that like Magic the Gathering scene before try because I don't know. That'd be like trying to get someone to play Magic the Gathering and be like, "Hey, come to a tournament with me." And that's the very first thing they touch. This one is a lot of effort, but it's kind of like me with BattleCon. I found my one person that I play BattleCon with, and that's the only person I play BattleCon with. Probably need to do the same thing with this one. Um, so we'll see where it falls. I would love to try and do a tournament of this one as well on the channel, but I cannot figure out a way to do it. Um, so I might put in some more effort at some point, but as of right now, my number 98 is Millennium Blades.
Good choice.
Oh, is it? You don't even like this game. Have
I
you
don't
even
know if
played
I
this
would.
game?
I might. I mean, because I always stayed away from it because I heard real time, real time,
Hmm.
and that'd be fast. But you've described it at times where the real time is it's not that chaotic
Yeah,
and
it's very, I
stuff.
mean,
So
it has rules on like, hey, here's where you should set the timer at, but I mean, just be like, oh, it says 7 minutes for round one. Okay, let's do 10. But I've always found it to be like, I mean, you run out of money
right,
at some
right,
point. So you're like, well, anyone want to go to the tournament now? I'm poor.
yeah. So
Uh,
I would probably be willing to try it.
okay, well, cool. You might be my one person I play Millennium Blades with.
Yeah. All right. So my number, what, 98 is a game that is new to the list as well, but this is probably about the spot it's should be at. Like I've played this one quite a few times. And this is kind of a safe nestling spot because it's an easy game to teach. It's a super easy game to play. The game gets over in no time. Uh, and the theme means nothing on this game. I showed it to you. Um, and we did a review on your channel for it and everything. And that
Emerge.
is
I got it. Oh,
After
okay.
Us.
Emerge is going to be higher. Okay.
No, no. Um, so this one I always thought looked really cool because I like post-apocalyptic stuff anyway. And then when you have the art of Vincent Dutrait, doing all this stuff too, so the art is really cool in this. And the theme pretty much of it is um, humans are gone and monkeys have kind of risen up and they're trying to be the more dominant tribes, I guess would be the word or whatever.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is you pick yourself a a board, and it's a deck building game. But the interesting thing is it plays it's pretty much a solo experience. You can play with it up to
Yeah.
5 or 6 people, I think. But the reason the game goes so fast is because every time everything's done simultaneously. You have your 5 cards. You are going to place them down. How you place those cards is not going to have any ramification on the other people. So everybody just plays their stuff down. And what you're trying to do is like what this picture shows is when you lay your cards out, you're trying to complete these little boxes. And once you've laid all your cards out, and starting with the top left, you work across and you get the resources that in all the closed boxes. And then you go to the next line and you do the next line will generally be maybe a resource or victory point, and then there's actions you can do, trading stuff in for victory points or so on. And then you go to the bottom row and you kind of do the same thing. So after you do all that and you gain all those resources and everything, then you will choose you have these little tokens and of each of the 4 different kinds of monkey families like gorillas and I don't know chimpanzees and a couple others and whatever, and you will blindly do that and you'll flip it over and it'll be a resource on that plus that's the stack you're going to buy from, able to spend resources for. And there's 2 different, it only shows the bottom ones on here, but there'll be some more up at the top of the same kinds. These would cost 6 of those to buy, and these would cost 3 to buy. And of course, the 6 ones are going to have more interactions and more matches you can make whenever it comes back up in your deck. Cool thing about this is whenever you buy a card like that, it goes to the top of your deck. So you're going to
Hmm.
draw it the next time. Also, um, the another reason this game goes quick is because those piles of cards that you buy are face down. So you have no idea. You can't sit there and be like, man, which one of these do I want? You just take the one you do, and
Yeah.
that's what you get.
If those were face up, oh man, the
I know.
AP would be
Yeah,
insane.
exactly. So we played this, and it was our first play, and I think we
Hmm.
finished it in 25 minutes,
Yeah,
20
it was
minutes, 25 minutes.
super quick.
And then I played it at 5 a couple of weeks after that,
Hmm.
and it took about 30. It's just like it's just flying through it. And I think that's why it fits this, because it's an easy game to teach. Um and it's super fast. Like
Yeah,
it's almost fast enough to be a filler game. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's a filler right
true.
necessarily for sure, because there's a lot of stuff flying around, but if you're looking for a 20-30 minute game just to throw down and you can play it with a big chunk of people, just use this. It's easy setup, easy tear down, and just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
that's
true.
what,
It
yeah.
the gimmick of lining up those boxes is pretty cool. It's pretty open-ended with the cards you have. Um and to kind of tie in with your it ends right when it needs to
Hmm.
as well, because the gimmick wears off. Like you can only get the same resources and stuff so many times before you're like, okay. And a lot of games don't have that balance. Usually it's like, let's add 10 more rounds. And it's like, okay, your idea isn't that good. And here they didn't do that. It's like, for
Yeah.
me, as soon as it was starting to wear off, the game was over. And I was like, that's good.
Yep. Yeah. And um it's a racing game because you're just racing to 80 points.
Hmm.
And what I've noticed in a lot of our games is, yeah, you can get, if somebody has this engine going where they're have this deal where they're just cranking out points every round. I mean, game's going to be over.
Yeah.
If there's a runaway leader, it's going to be over in no time, and then you can play it again. It's just kind of neat. It was one of those
Yeah.
that kind of surprised me. It wasn't the kind of game I was expecting it to be, because I bought it blindly off of just the theme and the box cover. I wasn't
Right.
expecting it to be like this light, but it actually works in this instance, and
Yeah.
it's a good solid one.
Yeah. It is not bad. I'd check what my ranking on it is, but
I want to say
BGG's
we
got
did like 7.5 or 8 or something
it's
like that.
I could see seven maybe.
Yeah, I
I
can't
I
remember
was
what.
I was probably around the 6 or 7, which is still above average.
Right.
Especially this is Pandasaurus, right?
Uh,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah. So, ooh, good job there.
Yeah, it's one of their few hits.
Yeah, that's not dinosaur related.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. My number 97 rose a shit ton apparently. Is that right? Yeah, no. Okay, hold on. There's no way that's right. Let me No. Okay. I don't know how I got that. Wait, no, hold on. Shit, it might have been. Give me a sec. Give me okay. I think I got these backwards. So, my number 97 was 150 163
Wow.
last year. I don't know, I messed up on this. And in the 200s the year before. I thought I have it to where it says the 200s last year, and I'm like, there's no way it jumped up 200 spots or 150 spots. But I actually have played this, and I keep backing their content, and I'm like an exclusive yearly member to this really cool club. That just gives me weird gimmicky shit that I just am not ever going to use. But I think I've combined all of this type of theme into one slot on my top 100, and that is
That's
Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards, Annihilation. Um, I think I'm including the Epic Spell Wars like dual portion as well, even though they are completely different games. But here I will talk about the deck builder because there are two sets of deck builders. There's Annihilation, and then there's the other one, Extreme Nacho, whatever. And there's a third one, Satanic Panic, which will be coming out in I think 2024. Um, if nothing about this cover does anything for you, nothing about the game is going to do anything for you because, especially for its other Epic Spell Wars, because it is grotesque as hell. It is every time I see what they're pumping out, I'm like, how are you allowed to print this? Like how it blows my mind sometimes. I mean, they do have a warning on there, so that I guess covers them from anything, but some of it is just vile, but the game itself is actually really good for a deck builder. So in this game, I mean, standard deck building procedure. Everyone has the same cards. You have uh, glyphs and then limp wands in your deck. You have a character. In this case, it's showing the game overlord, and you are trying to defeat other players, and you get victory points and stuff for that. You are gaining resources and money to be able to purchase cards in the middle of the board to go into your deck. But yet somehow the the deck building aspect of this game is incredibly solid. There's familiars that your character can just have innately. You can get every time you die, you get like a dead wizard power. So you come back stronger, which is something that was in the original Epic Spell Wars. You're vying for these trophies that give you a special ability if you have it. Um, and what's also weird about this game and even the other one where you're just trying to kill each other is it works well at three, um, which a lot of games where you're targeting players usually doesn't work. But last time I played this game was at three, and some of your spells will just kind of target players to your left and right. Other times you do get to pick, other times it might be random. So it doesn't ever really feel personal. Or normally, if you took 5 damage or you have 5 health, yeah, you're the obvious person to be killed. Um, but you're not really like hurting too much if you're the one that dies. It's not like you're out of the game. But yeah, you can get attack cards or spell cards. You can get familiars you can summon. You can get equipment that goes into your deck. All that allows you to get a build going. Like now, is it like reinventing the wheel of deck building? No. But if you love the art and find it humorous, and if you're 12, like I am, apparently, that likes this kind of art, I think it's hilarious. Like, at least once when I'm playing this game, every time a card comes out, I'm like, what is this? Like, what is on this card? When I was explaining Satanic Panic to someone, or as they were doing updates, I remember walking over to my wife and I was showing they have a Satan's Taint card, and at the top you see his nutsack, and at the bottom you see his butthole, and I'm like, Cat, what the fuck is this? I'm like, she's like, is that a butthole? I'm like, yep, that's a deck of Satan's Taint cards. That's in the game now. Um, and I just think it's hilarious. So if everything I just said makes you like uncomfortable, yeah, stay as far away. But if it doesn't, and you think that the artwork, while I actually think is good for what it is, if you think that's funny, then you will surprisingly get a really good deck builder with this. There's a ton of content now out for it. And yeah. And also, I think with the latest Kickstarter, they actually are making a storage solution for the original stuff, which I'm very excited for. But it's Cryptozoic, and we know that they love to pump out content
Yes.
because I think
Yep.
they're the ones that do Legendary, right? No, that's
They do DC deck builder
it's
and
the
stuff like
DC deck
that.
builder, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, do they also do who is the one that does Upper Deck?
Upper deck, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards, Annihilageddon, and Epic Spell Wars, Duel, whatever, Mount Skull's Fire, I think. Those are all lumped into one. So they weren't on the list last year, and now they are. So that's my 97.
This is one that I want to play. I don't own any. I haven't played the deck builder version yet of any of these.
This is not on
Um,
our list.
Mainly because I just haven't. It's a you know multiplayer or like 1v1 kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So I just haven't never dove in on it because
And I
I
can't
know my
imagine your
wife will never
wife
play
is.
it.
Yeah, I was like, I can't imagine she's chomping at the bit to rummage through the Satan's Taint cards.
No, not at all.
You gotta find a new wife.
No. All right. So my number 97 is yet another new one to this list. This one will probably get some steam and get higher, especially once the expansion follow-up expansion comes out that was backed quite a while back. Um, I don't normally like tower defense games. Um, there's just a couple like Cloudspire being one of them. I like that whole the kind of the tower defense version of that. And then this game fits my fits my play style because it's card based um, and everything. But that is Sky Tier Horde. Um, this game is pretty damn cool. The card art's awesome. Um, and it's pretty difficult. It's pretty much a solo only game. I mean, you can play it with more than one, but it's a solo game. They for all intents and purposes.
I have
But
a quick question. And
yes.
you might mention it, but I'm gonna go ahead and interrupt you because it's what I do.
Yep.
The original Skytear stuff, is that compatible or is
That's
this separate?
the regular Skytear with miniatures and all that
Gotcha.
stuff. This is just as all. It's the same, world, but
Mm-hmm.
this is just a card based tower defense. The other one was like miniatures. It used
Got it.
cards. It used cards, but it was a miniature like skirmish kind of
Okay.
stuff. But anyway, there's 6 lanes on this board at any given time that bad guys will be popping through, and you're playing cards. There's what's cool is when you get this game, especially if you get the version that's pictured in this, because this is like the Kickstarter deluxe version. You get these different decks, and you can play mono, so one color you can mix. Um,
Okay.
but you are pretty much trying to work through the deck and beat the boss as you would with most tower defense games. But what makes this game difficult is you're fighting the enemies on the line. And as you defeat enemies, you get to draw cards. That's how you draw cards in the game, is defeating enemies. But there's also these little minions, these little piddly guys. And if you don't deal with them, then they pillage your resources and make you discard cards out of your deck. So you're being attacked on several different fronts, because if your deck runs out, you lose. If your castle gets taken out, you lose. So like you have to defend your castle. It's like castle defense, and you need to protect your deck as well, because that's your deal. Um, there was a lot of content in this first box. The expansion that backed is going to add a ton more content. And if there was one weakness to this game, was card interactions. They were there, but there wasn't a
Mm.
ton of card interactions like you would expect in, like, when you play Magic or anything like that. The expansion is going to fix that, and it's going to add a lot more stuff with a lot more interactions, and you can really get some powerful turns and different stuff as well. Um, but yeah, this one was a surprise to me. I saw it on a video, solo channel I follow was talking
Mm-hmm.
about how good of a game it was. So I found a Kickstarter version of it and then back the next one. But you can
Nice.
also there's also different difficulty levels. So like you can play it. So there's replayability if you beat it one way. Um, so yeah, if you buy it retail, there's 3 pre-made decks already. When you buy the Kickstarter, I think there was like 5,
Okay.
maybe 6, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, it's a really cool deal. And if you like Sky Tier art style, I mean that's the same stuff in this. Um, and yeah, I mean it's a top notch little tower defense game if you like those style of games.
Yeah, I wanna give this one a shot. Um, every year we do our top 100. We always talk about games that we want to play. Um, and then we never play them. But I will because we're playing other shit. Uh, but I'm gonna add this one and Epic Spell Wars,
Yes.
and hopefully next time we hang out, we'll play them.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Well, my number 96 Fell. Not too much. I mean, it's basically the same. Last year was 91. Year before it was 90. So somehow in some way staying in the top 100. And I actually have played this recently, and it didn't really budge all that much. It's probably going to sit around here just because this kind of is a not bloated genre. But there are better games out now that do this, and that is Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, The Thames Murders, and there's like four other boxes. I think there's like 40 total cases because I think there's just four cases or four boxes of 10 cases. The last one I did was just so some of these are, in my opinion, just insane of the level of thinking. Maybe it's just my not my way of thinking, but yeah, the last one we did, it was like I have never been in a scenario where I had no idea where to go. Like typically it's like, okay, yeah, we can go here, we can go here, we can go here. Which one's the best one? This one I was like, not a clue. Not a clue on who to talk to, where to go, what evidence we have. It was insane. However, the writing for this and the level of complexity and detectiveness skill that you would need or that you have is still top notch, even in a genre that has a bunch of games that, of its ilk. But that could be to its detriment because those other games now have difficulty levels. Now, I don't really know if how like Chronicles of Crime has easy, medium, and hard. It's like what does that mean? What makes something easy and what makes something
Sure.
hard? Is it the amount of detail they give you where it's like, I don't know, that guy I saw kill her, and then you go to talk to him and he's like, yeah, I killed her. And you're like, okay, I guess that was easy. Um, but what's great about these cases is one, they're all different from one another. And if you can get into the theme, if you can read and have someone kind of really set the vibe, then you're going to have a good time. Now, at the same time, you also have to take into consideration you're not trying to solve it as quickly as you're trying to solve it as efficiently as possible, not as quickly as possible. And those two to me aren't necessarily the same thing because to solve it as quickly as possible, you just don't answer any questions and you just read the answers at the end. Um, because you're trying to beat Sherlock's score, which is always 100, and every question you answer at the end of the book, um, if you answer them correctly, they give you a certain amount of points. That's kind of your goal, but I've never really taken that into consideration. It's just like, did we solve the main case? Did we find who was the culprit or whatever it might be? Then if we did that, then yay, and everything else is just a moral victory. But is there another picture or do
Oh,
you
I'm
just
sorry.
hate my
Sorry.
um I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, the box is good looking. I really like the box art. Um, but yeah, you're given a map, you're given a directory, you're given newspapers and characters you can go talk to. All those are at your disposal, very open-ended. Um, and every time you go, let's say you go to a section in the directory and it tells you it's 5 east. You look in the book, if there's a 5 east, that counts as a lead. And every lead you have above Sherlock's, if he does it in 2 and you did it in 20, every extra one is going to be minus 5 points to your score. Um, that's kind of the game part of it. But yeah, if you are wanting a whodunit where um, you really have to put effort into it, then Sherlock Holmes Consultant Detective is one of the best ones to go out and get. And as of right now, I mean, I have the data, but I don't really want to scour through it all. But I don't think it's ever missed my top 100. Like somehow it's just been in here. Yeah, closest I think it got was 99. So there's something to be said about the longevity of audio detective solving.
Yep, that's true.
So yeah, that's my 96, Sherlock Holmes.
Perfect. All right. And my number 96 is the last new one that out of this
Okay.
10. And this is the one that you actually showed me.
Ah, okay.
Um, and this one I was very interested in when it first got announced because of the the box cover was really pretty. Um, and it was one that kind of eluded me for a while. I it just came back into stock, so I just ordered a copy for myself.
Nice.
That is
Ooh,
Barcelona.
that cover is awesome. Like
Yeah,
I do really like that cover. The Sagrada de Familia being built in the middle. That's
yeah.
sexy as hell.
So this game,
Brad, let's go there. Let's abandon our wives and move there just to look at the
gosh,
and just to look at the the church.
I don't think it looks like that right now.
Probably not.
But yeah, this one had a lot of hype when it came out around I think Gen Con when it came out, and it's the designer. We had this discussion when we did the review on it. I can't remember what else that they'd done, but yeah, I mean this one is a city building game, but it does enough unique stuff to it that you are drawing from a bag. You have certain different colored workers. You're placing those workers down in different spots. And depending on where you place them, you get to do the actions in the grid based actions, whatever at the end of that
I bet
column.
you a picture might help explain.
That is true. Um, so
That was a good one.
you place your stuff down and then you get to take those actions that are on the outer perimeter. Um, and then you get the option to, I mean, some of the actions that you get, you're either going to place roads down, which gets you points. You're going to place intersections. You can move the tram or the whatever they call it, not tram, but
Yeah,
the
I think it
is it
was
tram?
tram.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, there's just a lot of cool stuff. Build buildings that you can build buildings. You build buildings on top of other buildings, so
Hmm.
they start, and that comes into play like when you put your colored tokens on the buildings that you built and stuff. Because there's some scoring things that say, if you're the have the lowest token in the stack or something like that. I remember. Then you got points for.
Yeah.
Um, but what happens in this game is it has variable game ending time because there's three scoring rounds. And those scoring rounds pop because whenever you spend people to build, then they go onto these tracks down here. And then once they hit certain point, once one of the tracks hits that certain point, that's a scoring phase. Um, and then you go through and you score whatever it has you score, and then you go, you know, so on and so forth. You can buy different um, you're also dealing. What was there was the prestige deal, wasn't there? Like where you were the popularity track or something like that. If you'd
Oh
move,
yeah, it's the creator or the founder of what was it, Urbanism, I
yes,
think. I'm draw every time I draw a blank on this name, even though it sounds um familiar.
that's what this
Uh,
track was. So like if
yeah,
you
because
were
you go up or
more
down based off if you're following his vision of Barcelona or if you're
right,
going against it.
right.
Um,
But as you're doing that, you also have your player boards here that has a bunch of cubes that you're taking cubes off to gain points
oh,
and
it's
stuff.
Ildefons Cerda,
Okay.
and I know I
And
pronounced that with 100% accuracy, so
yes,
don't at me.
and you can also do things to gain you these cathedral tiles or whatever, and they slot into your player boards and
Hmm.
give you different points or stuff like that. This game, as pretty as the box cover is, it's really cool to look at. They did a good job with their colors and their graphical design of this game is really
Hmm.
neat on the table. And it's one of those games that even if you have kind of a crappy turn, you're still gaining points. It's like
Yeah,
it's a point salad game. You're gonna get points,
it's a
maybe not
feel
as
good
many.
game,
Yeah,
like massive swings and points, which I wouldn't want in a lot in every game, but every now and then it's just like I'm gonna do one action. That's
yeah.
77 points. And it's like, oh my God, I'm losing. And then then the next person goes and they're like 77, 640. And you're
Well,
like, "What?"
that's similar to what happened in one of our plays is because
Yeah.
I was buying point tiles like crazy and I was way ahead of you. And then all of a sudden we got the end game scoring. And you're like, I'm gonna take this 30 points and this 30 points. And then I'm like way behind like 20 some points. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
I'm
But
like, yeah, I gave you false hope like
yeah,
your Eagles did this year.
I get started. Um, well, both of our teams will be sitting on the couch at Super Bowl time anyway.
I know. Shut
Um,
up. Let me have this. It's our year.
so so anyway, yeah, this is just a really cool game, and it makes me I'm starting to pay more attention to this because this designer did one other thing, and I BGG's down, so I
Yeah.
can't look. We talked about it in the review though, but
Hmm.
yeah, I mean it's a really good one. It's coming back in stock now if you are have been looking for it, so
Yeah.
jump on it if you can find it. It's a good one.
Yeah. I looked up pictures of the Sagrada and there was one picture, one of its like entryway, which is just insanity of architectural design. And then it's a picture of inside with like its windows, which make me think of Sagrada, the game.
Right.
And I'm like, if anyone's been to this cathedral, I want to know, are the pictures even doing it justice, or is it just like, do you just become a convert as soon as you walk in? You're just like, I'm immediately converted to this religion because of how beautiful it is. And then I saw a picture of Barcelona, which is like I figured the cover of this was more like, oh, back then they did this. This is how it was supposed to be designed. But if this is a recent picture of Barcelona, it's
Still has
sectioned
its
off like that with those corners and the square type of buildings. It's actually
interesting.
really cool. Um, so yeah, good game, good choice. My number 95 would be way higher literally right now uh because I played this yesterday. And
Okay. Yeah.
so yeah, and I was worried. I was like maybe I gave it the benefit of the doubt. Um and yeah, I was I'm very incorrect right here. But anyway, it's at 95. It was 35 last year and 12 the year before.
Oh my.
So yeah, so it again tanked, but that's because I wasn't playing it because for some reason in my head I was thinking it was more complex than it really is. And then you play it again. Well, it's my number 95 is
Oh yeah.
Yido.
Yeah.
Um And just because this is a deluxe set, and there's a bunch of modules you can play with, bunch of decks you can throw in for your missions and for events and your action cards. Um, but for some reason, like the layout of the rules, and every time I look at it, I'm like, oh man, I don't really want to learn that again just because it's been so long. And then I took the, 5 minutes it takes to actually learn this game, and I'm like, oh yeah, this game is actually not as complex as I thought. And it's fucking great. This game is so good, and I'm so upset it's sitting at 95, and I'm talking about it right now. Um, if you're not familiar with Yido, it is a worker placement game where you have various sections on the board that you go and send your workers. Really, what it is you have missions that you're trying to complete that require you to have workers in specific locations, specific items, um, geisha or blessings, to get bonuses, which give you prestige points and money and action cards and stuff. And you just kind of rinse and repeat that. There are four different levels of missions um, that increase in complexity, meaning that they just require more things to be done. But this game is, again, we were just talking about Barcelona. Yido has that same feeling where it just feels good to have your plans fall into place. You need them, you need a person here, you need a person here, you need this weapon, and you need this. And then boom, I'm going to complete a mission. And you're constantly completing missions. Um, to get whatever benefit the mission's going to give you. The worker placement aspect is pretty free. Like I mean, turn order definitely matters if you're need because like different depending on player count, not every spot is going to be able to hold everyone. So if you really need someone in a specific spot to complete a mission, you're gonna want to go first. There's the small aspect of the watch, the captain of the guard, like moving around that can potentially arrest your workers. I always thought that was a lot more. um, much more of a thing. But I think it's the way that the Watchmen works is kind of dependent on the kind of game you're wanting. If you want him to be really involved, you're setting up that module. Like you're putting in those action cards that are constantly having him move around to try and get other players arrested. But if you're playing a more casual game, he basically just goes around the board one space at a time. The game is also, I think, relatively quick. The game I played yesterday was an 8 round game and it zoomed by. Um, and everyone was like literally like I think the game ended with a 1 point difference on first to second. It's and what makes this game also fantastic is I keep mentioning the modules, which I love modules in games. It's, you know, player power module. It's a tea house module with specific work specialist module where your workers are unique. Um, there's a lot that this game can just be customized with. And I have had it in the regular game. You shuffle one Kill the Shogun card in the black mission deck, which are the hardest to complete. And that is one way the game can end prematurely, with you basically winning, because I think some of the cards are basically like 15 points. But if you look at it and you understand the game, you're like, almost everything has to go right for you to pop that one off.
Right.
Um, but
Do you,
yeah, it's just, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you play with like the events, like the ones that kind of hose you over and stuff?
Um, well, that's the other thing is the events are modular also.
Okay, so that's why I was
So
wondering if you played with them or not. But
yeah, the events I played with yesterday were the ones that were basically just kind of neutral and
yeah,
neighborly. So it was like, oh, hey, weapons are at a discount now, or everyone can now buy an annex, and missions give extra prestige points. So it just is one of the games that if you want to, um, like depending on the kind of game you want. Do you want it to be more cutthroat? Do you want missions to be done in a certain way? Do you need like what kind of game is your group feeling? And pop that in there. It's yeah, it's done so well. I don't know what was keeping me from like thinking that this game was more complex. It looks busier and crazier than it actually is.
this
At,
board looks more because see, I haven't played this version. I want to pick this version up because I,
okay.
especially since that's the solo mode with this one, because I
Hmm.
used to own the old original one, and that board didn't look quite as busy as this one. But I
Yeah.
know I because I played the first one, I know what's happening on that board, so it makes
Yeah.
more it makes sense.
Yeah,
But
they definitely they this game does have theme, and the theme I think is I love this theme. Every mission card, I don't know if the original had this. Every mission card has a title of what the mission is and kind of a flavor text of what you're doing, like what your clan is doing.
I can't remember. It's been so long.
Um, well, this one has it. So if you want to read that, you don't have to. You can just be like, "Oh, I need to be here. Here we go. I completed the mission." But if you do read it, it's like one of the things that I completed was at the harbor where the Catholic church is, and it's like, hey, we noticed that the priest is taking a shine to this altar boy. We got to teach him a lesson by cutting off the altar boy's head and placing it on the pedestal. I was like, what? Well, we're probably doing the altar boy a favor. Father Monahan was side-eyeing him quite too much. Uh, he's like, please help me. Okay, cut his head off. Um, yeah, this game just works on every level in my mind. So yeah, this would probably I don't know how high I would have gone if I was able to redo it. I don't know. I'm looking at the games that are coming up, and while I love all these games, Yido would be passing quite a bunch of them as of right now. So yeah, just just pretend I'm going to be talking about this in like the 30s and 40s again.
There you go.
But we're sitting at 95 right now, so that is Yido.
All right. So my number 95 was 111 last year. So it was close to making the list last year that bumped up. And it's just because I played it this time. Um, and this one was, I am not a fan of Agricola. I've played it. I've tried getting into it multiple times. Didn't care for it as much. It was too limited, I thought. And then this one came out as the next set, and it was so sprawling. It's a table hog. There's so much crap in the box, but you get enough choices to it. And this is the middle game in their set in that those releases. And this is Caverna.
Ah,
There was Agricola, Caverna, and Feast Road, and those are the kind of the three of that style. But this one is one that I'd forgotten, you know, how good it actually is. But it just takes forever to set up and tear down because there's so many different resources. The thing that keeps this rolling though is that you actually have a lot more freedom to play how you want. I think it was kind of that guiding factor going from Agricola towards Feast Road, because on Feast Road there's so many options you can do and so many places you can go. This one you can focus on breeding your animals or growing your farm, or you could actually go out on send your little dwarves out on quests and stuff like that. There's all these different things you can do. Um, and so you have the little trappings of a little bit of like Agricola, but you can kind of see the direction they were going when they made Beast Road, and there's just so many different options with this. I don't have any of the expansion stuff or any of that.
wow.
Um,
God.
it
In
looks
your
it
top 100, you don't even have all the expansions.
Oh, I don't need it. I don't play this game. Like, there's so much crap like this. I'm surprised they're fitting this on that table. Of course, they just kind of have the resources all kind of crammed together.
Yeah.
But uh, but yeah, I mean, this is if you like worker placement and you like having options and you like controlling your own like board of growing your stuff and building your stuff inside the caves and stuff like that. There's just a lot of cool deals. You do still have to worry about the same Agricola stuff where you're feeding your people, fences for fencing your pastures for your animals and stuff like that. It's just not as um, hardcore. Like you don't get super punished like you do in Agricola, uh,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I
And
haven't played either, so I don't know, but I know of the Tom Vassell Rahdo debate on which one's better, and people are like, "Oh my God, I care so much." It's like just fucking play one of them.
yeah, well, I don't like Agricola. I don't care for it at all. It's just too mean and too
hmm
like feeding your workers is like number one. Like
Oh,
that's your
sorry, medieval farmer, you didn't eat for a day.
right.
Dead.
So then this one was really cool. And then I mean, obviously Feast is going to be higher than this because I like Feast Road more than this. But this is a good one to try. I mean, and it's if you can deal with the setup and tear down, that's what takes the longest. Just if
hmm
you have a spiffy organizer like I have, it makes it a little bit quicker.
Always does.
Yep. So
Have you
anyway,
played what's it called? His other game, his other resource management game. Because this is Uwe Rosenberg, right?
oh yeah. Are you
Yeah.
talking about
Uh,
Hallertau?
yeah. Have you played
I have not.
Hallertau?
I have not yet.
Hallertau's actually pretty solid. I know
Yeah.
it didn't get a lot of love, but I actually I think it works out pretty well. Um so
Yeah, I'll probably pick it up at some point because I tend to like most of his games.
yeah,
I
I think
just
you would like
I have
Hallertau.
Glass
Hallertau
Road.
has some cool gimmicks.
Yeah, I just bought Glass Road about 4 or 5
Okay.
months ago too, and haven't played it yet. And people really like that one too.
Nice.
So we'll see. But yeah, that this one's at 95 for now, and jump back up because I played it.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. My number 94 fell last year. It was 55 in 2022 and 49 in 2021. This is definitely due to just not playing it. I know it'd probably jump up if I did. The sequel that I had is not on the list, and I think last year they both were um, relatively close to each other. I'm trying to take a quick look. Um, or maybe I combined them both. Uh, I don't remember. Anyway, um, this is done by a same. publishing company that we talked about for After Earth. This is done by Pandasaurus, and this is actually their good games. And that is Dinosaur Island. So Dinosaur World is actually not on the list. It's up there. It's like 114. I own both and I do like both, but I think Dinosaur Island as of right now just kind of does it for me a little bit more. Now they have Dinosaur Island Roar and Write, which might actually supersede Dinosaur Island. I actually need to play all of them sequentially to kind of like have that moment of clarity to be like, okay, do I need Island and World? Do I need Roar and Write and Island? Do I need
Right.
dinosaur games over? Do I need any of these and Perseverance? I don't know yet. But as of right now, Dinosaur Island is yeah, it's a game where you are creating a dinosaur theme park that does both of those exceedingly well. The theme park aspect works uh here because you're creating attractions, putting dinosaurs in cages, and then you draw from a bag to try and get people to line up, paying customers. You might get hooligans that don't pay, but they still take up a spot in your lineup. The game is basically comprised of four mini games that do tie into one another, but this one kind of does it in such a way that I like Brad and I are on the same page for this one where once you walk people through each step, do one full round, and then you either continue the game or it's like, okay, did everyone understand the four games? Boom, let's reset. Every time I've done that, it's everyone's just wanted to continue because it just made sense.
Right.
The first phase is I'm trying to take a look. Yeah, the first phase is you're trying to get DNA. You're trying to draft dice that give you different types of DNA that you need to be able to breed and recreate certain dinosaurs, which could be herbivores or carnivores or omnivores. And if you have the expansion, the marine dinosaurs. Second phase is where you're building unique buildings within your own lab and hiring specialists. Uh, Third phase, I think, is whenever you're utilizing,
That's
I
the
think
worker placement.
that's the worker placement part. Yeah. So that's when you're placing workers down into those sections that you just bought, spending DNA. And then the fourth section is kind of whenever you're getting visitors to come see it. Um, I mean, this game I remember, God, when did it come out? Like 6 years ago or something like that?
I was gonna say about 17 or 18.
Okay. Yeah, I
That
think that's about right. And I mean, the raving about it was just insane. And then so what's interesting is that if you want the more um I want to say almost business side of it, like, hiring the specialist and getting the DNA and doing all the worker placement stuff, then focus on Dinosaur Island. If you want the more theme park aspect where you're actually utilizing and building a theme park and the stuff in Dinosaur Island that is like, let's just say it's like 75% the work replacement extra stuff and 25% theme park, inverse that, and you kind of have World. Because in World, you build
right.
out theme parks with actual rides, and there's a Jeep element where you're actually taking people to visit um, these attractions, and the attractions degrade over time because people are like, oh, I've seen this before. It just kind of depends on what you're wanting. Do you want the more meticulous micro aspect, or do you want the kind of macro aspect of World? And if you don't give a shit about either of those, and you want to play a game like this in 30 minutes to an hour, then get the Roar and Write.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, no, this is
So,
this is a good one for sure. I really
yeah,
like this one. I don't think it. I mean, I know this may be a spoiler or not, but I don't think this made my top 100 this year.
really, it actually fell
Yeah.
out, huh?
Well, I haven't played it
I
forever.
know.
I mean, that's the thing.
Because
It's
this
you know,
doesn't have a solo mode, does it?
yes, it does.
Oh, it does. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just
Weird.
haven't played it a whole lot.
Yeah,
It's so many games.
I know. I know. Yeah, I mean, it almost fell out. World did. I kind of went back and forth on if I even wanted to lump them together, you know, because they're practically the same game. Uh, it kind of I don't know. I do have a hard time kind of like if someone would be like, which one should I get? It's like I don't know, dude. They like I think I liked World because I like Island is really what I'm coming down to because I was able to understand the mechanisms of World.
It almost could have
Um,
been like an expansion to
oh,
Dinosaur
you're
Island.
right.
Had the
Yeah,
Jeep mechanic and all that stuff.
all they needed was like yeah, an expansion where you just get rid of these 4x4 blocks and
Hmm.
just add the element of where you build the
Yeah.
park and do the Jeep element. You're right. That probably would have been better. But that doesn't make as much money, Brad, and Pandasaurus has so many flops, they have to make their money back.
Well, they had to make
Um,
some money to make a merge.
yeah, that's anyway. Uh yeah, so I don't know. I think but I've had people who didn't like how the four phases were just kind of like isolated. World is a little bit more cohesive. It kind of connects better. Um, so just I don't know. If you like Jurassic Park, then get Dinosaur Island. If you love Jurassic World for whatever reason, then get Dinosaur World. I don't know. Anyway, my number 94 is Dinosaur Island. Does the Jurassic Park theme really, really well.
Yep. Yep.
If this did not come out, I do not think Pandasaurus would be even in the talking points for any of their games.
Yeah, probably. Probably. All right. My number 94 was 53 last year. So
Ooh,
it
okay.
dropped quite a bit, 41 spots. Um, and mainly it's because um the system of this game is still a blast, but the only way I get to play it myself is with the solo mode that I've played enough that it's kind of where it's welcome out.
Hmm.
I don't own any. I own the base game and I own this expansion that makes it solo, and that is Thunderstone Quest.
Gotcha.
I would love playing this game. Like there's so many. They're getting ready to go to another Kickstarter project for like their 14th and 15th.
No way. Are
Yeah,
they
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Oh
I
my
just saw.
God.
I was looking here to just to see and all these. They're like a Quest 14, 15, something like that.
Wow.
And as much as I would love to dive into those, I just would never get it played to. Yeah, it's Quest 14 and 15 are coming to Kickstarter soon.
Here's the
Um,
thing. So this is not on my top 100. I don't own this game anymore. Those quests, they're the same though. Like I know it's different cards and stuff, but they're just not dynamic enough to be like, wow, Quest
right.
14. It's just like, wow, what four cards are new that are similar to your other games? I don't know. I'm kind of with you on this game though, where I want to really, really like it, but it almost feels like it's just pumping out cards that
It,
aren't exciting anymore.
and the barricade mode is what I was talking about as the expansion that made it soloable because it turns it into almost like a tower defense kind of thing. And
Oh, yeah, because
yeah,
places
so
can, yeah, take
and
damage.
it's cooperative or
Yeah.
so. So it's like I have the base game and I have barricades, and that's all I have for it. And I played the barricades a lot, which is well, why it was up to 53. And I think I'd played a multiplayer game back then of it. I haven't played it
Hmm.
really since. That's why it dipped down. Um, I don't know. This is one. I mean, I really wish I could get this to the table more. Um,
Hmm.
because I've played all the Thunderstones. I've from the original ones to the Thunderstone Advanced to this one. This is my favorite version of all that, but I just
Yeah.
can't get it played. I mean, that's the biggest thing. This high fantasy stuff is not something that like my wife enjoys a whole lot, and so I can't really do it that way, um,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. But so who knows? It may not even be on this list next year. It's hard to say, but
Yeah.
but I'm definitely not doing the Kickstarter like because there's so much crap out now. Like I looked at it on their last Kickstarter, and I was like, maybe I'll just get all this crap. And I was like, but then I stopped myself like, why? And I was like, I only play
Right.
barricades, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, before I sold all this, because I love card games. I love having, because they're the best games for infinite replayability, and this is a prime example of a shit ton of content. But before I sold it all, I was like, you know what? Maybe this could be a series on my channel. I just run through each quest. And I started on quest one, and as I finished it, I was like, I am bored. Like I was just bored. The cards weren't exciting. I don't necessarily even really like the fact that you have those four heroes and you just kind of level them up, but you have like multiple levels of the. It's just like it just wasn't dynamic of card play enough to justify just having all that shit. But elements, I mean, I do love that there is a lot of content. I love that you do kind of dungeon delve based off light and stuff to defeat, enemies. And then the barricade mode, you have the boss. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't clicking like it used
Yeah.
to. The novelty's kind of worn off.
Yep,
So
I would agree. So it's probably going to fall off unless something tragic or not tragic,
tragic happens.
something
Unless all my
something
games
special
burn,
happens. Yeah, it's less something special happens in this Kickstarter. They bring out something to make it more cooperative
they're
or
not
solo.
gonna. It's
They're
gonna
not
be
going. I'd
like
have
their
to.
other nine Kickstarters where it's gonna be like two quest boxes with,
Hmm.
15 new decks of cards.
Yeah.
Um, but
So
apparently the guy sold it to, he's enjoying it, so good. That's good. I'm
I mean,
glad it's getting
if
played.
I had a group of another at least one two people that played it, I would be playing it a lot because I
Yeah,
really like the game. It's just I just don't have that group. So
right.
yep.
All right. Well, number three is actually a crossover on this list. This is my new one on the list.
Is it? Well, it's not going to be after us. It's Barcelona or 20 Strong. One
Okay,
of those
well, go
two.
ahead and go to my 93.
Oh,
It
yep.
is 20 strong. Even though I only play solo games for my channel, for some reason this one was actually higher. I expect this one to be like in your fucking like your four or something,
It'll
something
jump up,
weird.
I think, at some point. I mean,
Yeah.
I just haven't like the full versions of these games. I almost like to have set up and play
Oh
more.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'd
So
much. I
that's
mean,
why
well,
it's
not Hoplomachus, but Too Many Bones for sure. Um, yeah, I'd rather play Too Many Bones. However, here's why I actually really like this game because it exceeded my expectations. I backed it because it's chip theory, but then as I kept seeing things for it, I'm like, that's a lot of die rolling. That seems like it's really gonna piss me off. And it doesn't. Like the puzzle of it, that's what chip theory does so well, is their combat is not, I mean, in this case it is dice chucking, but and so is Too Many Bones. But they're all more puzzle aspect. It's not like Arcadia Quest or Zombicide dice rolling. It's how best am I like here's my layout. Like Solar Sentinels is probably the one I've actually played the most because I was just trying to really nail down the rules. Um, but you look at the bugs that you can pick from. Um, Sometimes it's a really bad option. Sometimes you're forced to take stuff, and then you look at what you have to deal with, and then you look at the dice that you have available to you and your special powers and your items, and then you're like, okay, what can I do to deal with this? And yeah, you might miss, but you're given a ton of re-rolls and just how quick the setup is. This was one of the very few games where I'm like how you say that about Seven Wonders Duel, you're like, ah, whatever, it doesn't take that long. That's exactly this game
yeah.
for me. If I'm like, okay, I get two re-rolls, blanks, blanks. Okay, I lost. Okay, well then just done.
Yep, exactly.
So
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I because they had a lot of issues with their dice quality with this
Hmm.
Kickstarter. And so I had two dice that were messed up and they got back with me and they're sending them in the mail already. I mean,
Yeah,
they did a
Chip
good thing
Theory's
with that.
customer service is what is, if not the best, one of the best.
Yeah.
Um, I've actually, talked to them a few times, and they're super responsive and just extremely helpful. It's amazing. So yeah. So if this was just Solar Sentinels, then for like $20 or something, I'd be very happy. But then the Too Many Bones deck, which feels like Too Many Bones, watered down version, but
Mhm. Oh yeah.
still surprising for implementing this dice system and then making Hoplomachus fun. Like that's an achievement in and of itself. So, um, Yeah, it just kind of won me over. One of the games I played the most in 2023, just from how easy it is to set up and still get that thinky crunch. Because like in this case, I mean, this guy can get three rerolls, but let's say at the beginning of the game he gets two, and this is his layout. You have all those dice available, so if you want, like, you can kind of be like, okay, let's see if I can get rid of that one that has three health with, three yellows and a blue. That's the risk you take. It's push your luck. You could get some crits, which would be awesome. You might get a couple, you're most likely going to get blanks. So you roll and you get to keep some hits, and then you're like, okay, let me add more dice. The fact that you can add more dice on subsequent rerolls helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because if it was kind of like, if you had to assign your dice first and that's what you had to work with, yeah, the game would just be awful. But
Yep.
yeah, it just works for me. I don't see it actually. I mean, the 90s feels good for this one though, because I'm probably not going to be playing it all the time. Um, but as of right now, it's good. It's
Yeah,
a really good one.
and I think that's why mine will probably stay down in this bottom part of this list too, because I mean, when push comes to shove, I like the full version of their games more.
Hmm.
Those, just like they have been in several years, so it's nothing spoiler. Those are going to be towards the top of my list.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, there's a range between Too Many Bones and this, just like
Right.
that. So it's like they're, I can only have so many of those that type of game down there. So
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
it's
No, I
definitely
mean,
worthy of top 100 list. But
yeah. I mean, I obviously agree. So that's my 93, 20 strong.
my number 93 was also 93 last year. It
Oh,
stayed the
nice.
exact same. And I've played it once this year. It's still a solid game, still fun. This is one I showed you way back in the day. And that is Legendary Encounters,
This is an
an
old
alien deck
one.
building game.
Wow.
This is the only that's a lie. I own two of the Legendary games now. I own this and the Firefly one, but I got rid of all the Marvel Legendary stuff. But
Yeah.
this one
Oh
is
man, owning all that stuff, that was pretty cool.
it
Like just
was
having that many
well,
characters,
they,
but
they just keep pumping it out. I keep seeing all these releases. I'm like, my God, it's like how
hmm.
many? But this one was really neat just because um you don't have to, but you can play through the movies. Um, and then it had some modular parts to this game as well because there was a way that you could have somebody play like a one versus many, and you could have somebody be the queen alien, and you could play with these special events that could do stuff and these special missions that you needed to do. So there's these different things you could add in. When we played, we just played through the movies. Um,
Hmm.
and it kind of tells you what hero decks to put into the draw piles that go out onto the to be able to purchase. It tells you kind of how to set it all up. But what's different from this one from this legendary encounters system, because this was the first of the legendary encounters that came out, so it was the first one that kind of went away from like the Marvel the Marvel version. In Marvel legendary, bad guys would pop out and would go through the city, but they would
Hmm.
just pop out face up and you'd see them going. This one adds that dynamic of not knowing, which is kind of fits the alien stuff because you hear the
Hmm.
noises and you don't know what the hell's coming, but they
Right.
come out of the monster deck face down, and then you can spend some of your attack points when you play your cards to scan an area, and when you scan the area, you flip it over, and then that way you know what's there. That could also bite you in the ass because if you scan something and flip it over, there's several of those bad guys that have abilities that pop off, or you get a face hugger, or just all this different crap. But it does a really cool job of mimicking the movies. I mean, not 100%. I mean, but for a deck builder, it does a good job theme wise and matching up with the deal of the movies with the different objectives you need to accomplish and stuff. Um, and then I also like that you really don't have. I mean, you do get to pick an avatar for your character that you pick, and then that avatar you have one special card that goes into your deck that nobody else has based upon what
Yeah.
avatar you choose. Um, and there's a lot more cooperation in this game because you can can't think of the remember the dang term. It's coordinate, maybe. I think it's the keyword where you can like play cards on somebody else's turn if it has the coordinate word that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
play and like help them out with attack or buying or stuff like that. And it there's a lot more team play in this, which is handy because it is a difficult game, really. I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of stuff starts ramping up. But yeah, I mean this is the best of the legendary games in my opinion. Um, just because of the theme and just how it plays and stuff like that.
Cool.
But
Cool,
yeah,
cool, cool. Yeah.
that's many.
Yeah, I played it. We went through the movies, and that's the only time I played it. And for me, that was like enough. It was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I went through the movies. It did that pretty well. And then, but I had like Marvel Legendary, and then Marvel Champions came out, and I'm like, well, don't need Marvel Legendary anymore.
Exactly.
So
And
all
you could
this is
always mix them all. You could throw Marvel characters into this game if you wanted to.
that's true. Have you ever done that?
I mixed the Marvel or I mixed the Legendary Encounters Alien with the Predator
Okay.
because you could mix those up and
Yeah.
that. But I know I didn't want Wolverine fighting the Queen Alien and stuff, stuff like that.
That would be stupid. All right, my number two was number 87 last year and number 76 the year before, so slightly fell. I am definitely combining this one and the sequel that I just got. Depending on how often I play them, I could see this one going kind of back up to the 80s. This is a extremely solid uh, cooperative game for both of them. I do really like the second one, even though it's different, completely different feel from the first one, and that is Subterra. So this is obviously Subterra 1, which I do prefer over Subterra 2, but the fact I got Subterra 2 is pretty cool. Um, this kind of like if I were to describe both of these in a movie, Subterra 2 or Subterra is The Descent, and then Subterra 2 is Indiana Jones, kind of. I can't think of any other kind of dive
Yeah.
into a thing and get an artifact. Um, but both of them play really similar to one another. They are tile based, where you are laying out tiles to explore that have different types of hazards. In Subterra 1, it's water, it's cave-ins, it's poisonous gas. Everyone plays a particular person. Think any of the Forbidden games or Pandemic. You have a role that gives you special, unique abilities. But in the base game of Subterra, you are trying to find the exit. You've gone down and then you just kind of explore out in whatever direction you really want and trying to avoid any creatures that are um, in the game, trying to avoid um, yeah, the hazards, and then basically going through this tall stack of tiles that will eventually reveal um the exit. In this person's game, they are not doing too well. Three people are down, and they are the only ones left. Four people, I guess, this was a five-player game. I don't know. There's the little black meeple.
Yeah,
That's
there's two guys up, looks
there's
like.
two people left. But yeah, so what's cool is like, I mean, obviously, if you lose all your hit points, you just get knocked down, and people can come out and get you. But um, if push coming to shove, they might just leave you if it's like, oh, I can see the exit. This game goes through a deck of hazard cards that is also your timer that kind of thematically represents your flashlight. One thing I always talk about with this game is its end game is really fun. It's not like, oh, the deck's out, you ran out of time. You you have a chance. Like every round you have to roll a die, and I think you need a five or a six,
Yeah.
and you get to play out your turn. And you do that every round. So you're no longer dealing with new hazards. You're not constantly flipping over new cards, but if you roll a 1 to 4, your flashlight goes out, and then the creatures in the dark grab you. for something that looks like this, it is, surprisingly thematic. Um, like they didn't have to go out of their way and make bombastic miniatures and terrain pieces and all that. It's a succinct game that is very easy to learn for your actions and what the tiles do. And I think it's, I mean, if you really kind of take like put small bit of effort into it, you can really get into the theme. And if you have a fear of spelunking, like any sane, reasonable person should, then or if you've seen The Descent, which would be horrifying, yeah, Subterra 1 is a really good cooperative game. Subterra 2 doesn't have that same element of horror, but it has the highs of kind of like high energy. You're with the
Mhm.
goal of Subterra 2 is you're trying to look for keys that then you find the thing that unlocks the artifact. And once you grab the artifact, the volcano like erupts and all the tiles start flipping over, revealing lava. So this one, you're just trying to find the exit. In our Subterra 2, you're trying to get in and get out.
Gotcha.
Well, also, it doesn't use a deck, it uses dice for its hazards. Um, but still kind of same gameplay loop, uh, with the different roles, unique roles and stuff. So they both have their feel, and I mean, I'm keeping both. I think both of them are worthy of keeping just for the different feel and
That's good.
gameplay loop.
Yeah, this one was every time I show this to people, they enjoy the heck out of it. Like you showed me
Mhm.
this a handful of years ago, and I went out and got it, and it just always seems to be a hit for whoever plays it.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like everyone can understand what their role does. Like, you know what you do on your turn, and it's thematic. I mean, it's really fun to just kind of imagine you're trying to trudge through this cavern and been like and like if you have a horror chasing after you and then like you're just imagining you're running from that and you kind of cut a corner and you just flip a tile and it's like a squeeze thing and you're like I can't, or it's like a cave in, you're like
Mhm.
I can't fucking go back. Yeah, I mean it's wildly thematic. I think that's what does Subterra, this one, justice.
Yep,
So
yep. Good choice.
yeah, that's my 92.
My number 92 made a big jump. It was 134 last year. And I think it was that low mainly because I had just kind of discovered this game around that time. Um, but it's going to keep creeping up as I play it more. You haven't played this, I don't believe, yet. It's one that we've talked about playing together at one point or another. Um, but it uses you're deconstructing your engine uh to
Oh,
to
I think I know
to
what you're talking
go
about.
for the end game, and that is
Oh, okay, yeah.
Space
This is the
Station
one I thought.
Phoenix.
I have not played this one. I do really want to try it
Yeah,
though.
yeah, I need to bring it sometime. Um
Now, let me put it on the ever-growing list.
this one, the theme of this one is that you're this council, this the people in charge, they're wanting to expand into the solar system, and you are competing against other players to try to um, build the best station that they can use for a base of operations. So what that means is when you start this game, you are going to have all these actions and all this stuff to do, and your engine is humming at max capacity right off the bat. But in order to build that station, you've got to, I mean, they need metal to build a station. So you have to start dismantling ships from your fleet to be able to use that metal to build the space station.
Why can't I dismantle ships from your fleet? Where's the
Because
war
because we're
aspect?
I don't know. There's no war at this one. But what is interesting is that decision that you need to make what you're dismantling, like because there's a lot of these actions you're doing different stuff. So you may dismantle a transport ship, and if you dismantle a transport ship, that is your only lifeline back to the HQ. Or you can dismantle one of your expedition crafts. And if you do that, then you're not going to be able to go down to the planet and gather food and water, which you need to for your workers to keep going. So there's these decisions and timing that you really need to focus on. And it looks more daunting than it actually is. But you start off with your ship, you start trashing parts of your ship to build the space station. And I mean, that's the core mechanic of this game. And I don't recall um it, many, if at all, any games that start you off at your peak and then you have to dismantle it for end game. Like I
Yeah,
can't
I
think of
can't think of
any other
one.
games that do that, but
I
it's
actually had a friend ask me about. He's like, "Has there ever been a game where you start off like super strong and you lose stuff as you go?" And I was like, "I can't think of any." I didn't know about this game at the time, but yeah,
yeah,
there's not many, if any, game where yeah, you're at your best at the beginning of the game.
yeah. And but if you don't start dismantling, then you're gonna get behind the curve and then not have a cool space station at the end. So it's this whole risk management, what are you willing to get rid of for end game and be able to live without, and still be successful. So it's a cool one. And it's a Rio Grande Games is who did it, and they kind of
Hmm.
don't put out stuff as much as they used to.
Right.
And this was one I heard of a couple of years ago, um, on a podcast. They were talking about how awesome it was, so I looked it up and found it, and it's definitely worth the hype at
Cool.
that point. So yeah, I mean this one could continue to rise depending on if I get it played more, and it would be cool to have a little bit of expansion content, maybe,
Sure.
just to add a few more, maybe different styles of ships for your fleet, stuff like that you can do stuff with. But other than that, that's my 92 Space Station Phoenix.
Nice. Yeah, I want to try that one. All right. And our 91, the last one for this video. It's funny before we were talking about, starting in the top 100, we were like, you know what, we'll try and keep it succinct. That's impossible at this point. But hey, maybe that's what makes our top 10s and top 100s unique. They go a little bit long, but I feel like it feels more natural.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, my number 91 is actually the second new one on the list. I must have miscounted because I'm stupid. Um, so this is a new game, and this was actually a game that you and I played together. And I don't think this is going to be on your list because you'll just never have a reason to own it. But it's okay because I own it, and that is Sky Team. So Sky Team was 2023's like big hit. At least it was Gen Con's big hit because probably everyone had backed all the games that were being released, so there was no reason to buy games at Gen Con, except for this one. Scorpion Mask is actually a publishing company that I'm definitely keeping an eye out because I've been buying and playing a lot of their games over the past couple of years. This one I had no interest in at all. I was like, planes, woo. Um, but whenever I just saw it at a local game store, I'm like, okay, I keep hearing about it. Sure, I'll grab it. And then when you and I played it, and I was like, I see, I get it now. Um, I watched the top 10 recently, and for some reason, they just could not get over the fact that like the pilots couldn't talk to one another. They're just like, it's just not thematic, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's not. The game wouldn't work otherwise. Like, so it's a dice placement game where two people, pilot and co-pilot, you have very, similar but different actions that you secretly roll dice, and you're just trying to land planes safely at its destination. And what makes this game work, which is why it doesn't bug me that the pilots can't talk to one another, is your communication is done through your dice. If we need to level out our plane, like in this case, um, if I, as the pilot, if I'm going first and I place a six down to level out the plane, that's probably going to tell you that I have either a really bad roll or that is in my mind the best die to place because if you place a five there, like this person did, that's going to level the plane out. Um, because if I place a one there, it's like, okay, what the fuck? There's nothing I can do to, I guess I could place a one and we just stay in that tilted zone. So that's where the communication comes in. And I actually think it works really well. You have several factors both players need to meet to even win the game. And uh, the way that they made this game kind of like presentable is like when you open the box, all the stuff is like under the insert except for your first game. And it's like, play this. Once you succeed in landing here, then look at all the other stuff. And then you open it and you're like, oh my God, there's a shit ton of locations, there's modules, which again, modules are the best way to make expansions and content. Because if it's just like throw all this in, it's overwhelming. So like if we play again, it's like, oh, let's see what rain's like, and then we crash immediately, and we're like, okay, well, rain sucks. Um, or just, different ways of travel, wind and or other modules that are thrown in. It's done really, really well. It's quick. It makes sense when you're playing. And it's a two-player cooperative game, only two-player cooperative game. So I'm pretty taken aback with it. Jumped up to 91. Um, and I can actually see this one going higher. Unlike 20 Strong, where it relies on me to play it, and the only time I'm going to play it is if I make up content for the channel, then Sky Team is one that I could be like, hey, let's just play this. Oh, you want to
Yep.
try going here? Um, yeah, I could show this one to more people,
Oh yeah.
but
Well, and just digging into all those special things, and everything. Because when we were playing through it, we just played a few times of the base vanilla version, and
mhm.
it was good enough then. I can only imagine when you're throwing in all that other stuff. This was kind
Yeah,
of
I mean, because
this was my biggest surprise, I think, because I
yeah,
like like you said, I landing airplanes, I really don't care. But when we
right.
played it, it was such a cool game, and it just barely missed my
Yeah.
100. It
Yeah. If your wife liked cooperative games, I think this would have been on your list.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, if we also played like probably 50 more games a year, like then I think we have done a surprises list before. We just that's usually the list of the years, the
Hmm.
best, worst, and
Right.
that the surprise one I knock out before the other ones because to me, if it's like, oh, this was surprisingly good, well, then it probably justifies it enough to consider
So
for the best year. But if
yeah.
we have a bunch, like 30, 40 games in consideration, it's like, well, I want to talk about these other games
Yeah.
also.
Yep.
But anyway, that's my number 91, Sky Team.
All right. My number 91 fell a little bit, and it's just because I haven't played it for a while. It's a good game. It'll probably always be on this list. It's just I only have the base game. I don't have the expansions for it that I need to get, and that is Isle of Skye. This
This is
one,
a good one.
yeah, I really dig the games like this that use the kind of like the Carcassonne stuff style of laying tiles down, connecting roads, doing stuff like that. What makes this one step up from a Carcassonne is the the bidding factor. The money system in this game is interesting because you you blindly keep your money and everything behind, but then when you're going to have your locations out there and you actually get to hatchet one, and then you're going to put money behind your screen on certain ones, and that's how much if somebody takes that one, then that's going to be how much they have to pay for it, and then you get that money if they buy it and all this different stuff. um
Yeah.
what's and that the other cool thing, and this is you've seen this more in games in these later years, that there's different in-game or round scorings, and
Hmm.
there's a stack of those tiles that so the games will be different a lot of times. So like A and C may score, and that's going to be your how many cows you have or how many completed rivers you have or whatever. Those would score, and then so it bounces around. So you can't focus all on one because you got to be looking in game at all the scoring as well. And then and there's also catch up mechanics, um, where if you're behind, you get more gold at that round collection and stuff too,
Yep.
to kind of help and stuff. So I don't have any of the expansions for this. I need to get them.
I do. I think I have both of them actually. Um, have not touched them.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they bring. I know they make the box impossible to store efficiently, but I
Yeah.
think didn't they do a big box for
There
Isle of Skye?
was a big box, yes, but it was just
Yeah,
a big box of the base. It didn't come with all the expansions, so you'd have to.
right.
But it probably fit everything,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, no,
Um,
this one is really good. I actually played this. I mean, it's been probably over a year since then, but I played this at max player counts, and when the game ended, I was like, "Oh shit, it's over!" Like this game can go by super quick if, and this was kind of the problem that I kind of noticed, if no one is willing to buy stuff from
mhm,
anyone, you know.
right.
So, which was kind of disappointing if everyone's just like, "Well, I'm gonna buy my own stuff," then you kind of lose a little bit of the game of what it's wanting you to do. Uh, but I mean, that was just that group, and that group is weird, and I don't game with them anymore. But yeah, no, this is a solid Alexander Pfister game.
Yep. Yep. It's one of those that you don't picture him being the
Hmm.
person for, but yeah,
Yep,
this is a good one. Like I said, it'll probably always be on this list, just
sure.
because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was it, everyone, for the first segment of the Top 100. I hope you enjoyed. Stick around for the rest of the Top 100. The games only obviously get better from here. Let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.